Hey everyone. We'll start this session on Beyond the Block, pioneering the future of blockchain testing. Okay. Uh, this is a session by Gomathi Ramalingam, who is the head of QA at Simba Chain. While I was backstage with her, she's been in the UK for about 20 years, where she started working. Uh, she demonstrates extraordinary communication, negotiation, and delivery skills on managing tight projects with tighter deadlines. And so that's about Gomathi, and I will invite Gomathi on stage, and I'll pass on her the feedback which I got on the first message itself. Hi Gomathi, you're on stage. Thank you, Gomathi. Thank you for doing this. And before we start, we got the first comment itself. Okay, that can she tell us about what is blockchain and what is blockchain testing? So please start from that, and then build so on.
Perfect.
I'll hide
Okay,
myself on
so
stage and the stage is yours.
okay, so let me start with the presentation because it does combine what is blockchain to a very basic understanding purposes. So let me go through that, and if at the end, I think it was Nikhil who asked that question. At the end, if you want me to answer, I will go ahead and do that with you. Is that okay? And hoping that is okay. Perfect. Okay, let me share my screen. Right. Right. So let us get started. And before we even start with the presentation or with the conversation today, I just wanted to say that this conversation couldn't have come at a better time because for all those Bitcoin fans around here like me, the Bitcoin halving event happened last night. It was one of the historic moments because it happens roughly about once in 4 years, and I was glad I'm part of that journey and I'm there witnessing it. So yeah, thank you, Test Drive, for bringing the moment combined with this conversation on the session. So on that note, let's get started. Yeah, today my session is on testing beyond the block, and yeah, Gomathi Ramalingam, head of QA, and Nikita. Yes, I'm just seeing your question there. Go research about it. It is like when it's Bitcoin is one of the first blockchain networks that was started, and every roughly 4 years they half it, the rewards basically. So people mine and the block gets created, so the rewards gets halved, right? And yeah, for further notes, research on it. Let's get cracking. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but yeah, at the end, if you want me to, we'll discuss about it. Okay, cool. So yeah, head of QA. I've been with Simba for the last 2 years, and before that, all about blockchain was all historic to me, all theoretical to me. I've learned about it on theory, but yeah, Simba has helped me through this journey that I'm here talking in conferences and webinars about blockchain and future of blockchain testing. So without further ado, what are we going to cover in this session? Is basically that what is blockchain today, right? So we'll have a basic discussion on what is blockchain and what it helps with. And obviously there is no session today that doesn't cover AI, right? So I thought, yeah, I will also, future of blockchain, let's add AI in it and see how that looks like. So we'll also look at what AI is today from a person who's not into AI. Okay. And then we'll see what is ABC of future, and then how we can add in test strategies to look at the ABCs of future. And then we'll have the future outlook that is a bit more further, and then key takeaways from there. Okay. I hope any questions around that. Keep asking. We'll look at it, and let's get into what is blockchain today. Right. So blockchain basically is, if I have to put it in very simple terms, it is decentralized, immutable digital ledger, right? Like those accounting books that we have, right? So it is a ledger, okay? And it is a digital, obviously. Think about it like a database, okay? But the thing about blockchain is I have a network, there is computers connected to my blockchain network, okay? Every computer will have a copy of the database at a given point of time. the most recent updated copy of it. Okay, so every record that comes into it, there are computers in the network who actually say, yeah, this is a valid record, this is correct, this is true, and the majority of them will validate it, and that's when the record gets added into the blockchain. Okay, so the record is unique. You cannot tamper it. It is because they are connected to one another, like chain of blocks are connected together. Okay, it is all information, it is all record. So if I'm transferring like 10 pounds to Ashutosh, that gets as a record into blockchain. Okay, and because of how they are connected, you cannot edit the record. You can update a record, like add a new record to it, you cannot update it. And at the end, so what this gives us, it gives us a full traceability of every change, every record that goes into your blockchain. Okay, so this is the basis of how blockchain works. Now let us look at what AI is today. So AI is the buzzword, right? I hear about it a lot. I've started doing research on it for the last 2 3 months, and it is such a powerful tool. So what AI excels is at, it takes in a huge amount of data, right? It processes it, it identifies patterns within it, and makes predictions. And in the meantime, it is also getting further data in, and thus it enhances its decision making, right? So in my head, I'm thinking how it would work is as if it is mimicking a human mind's working. How, as Gomathi, I will make a decision is how an AI is being trained to identify patterns, to make predictions, like how I would make a decision. Right? It is extremely user friendly. Let me make it very clear here that the other day I was in India last month, and my mother-in-law, she's in her 60s, and she was using ChatGPT, and she was actually asking, how can I control my sugar? I was amazed at how it has reached. Obviously, ChatGPT came back saying that, I'm not a medical advisor or something, but it came back with its predictions of what are the different things she can use. Right? So I sat down and thinking, like, it is such a complex system, right? Backend of how many algorithms is written, the LLMs, and what all goes in the background. But when such a complex system is simplified, for an end user, the adoption of such a technology is to next to nothing, right? So then, now today, this is what I'm looking at, the future of blockchain testing, right? When this blockchain and AI collide with each other, right? So each of these technologies plays an important role in today's digital world. AI can learn from data, make predictions, right? And blockchain has got its transparent and tamper-proof process. So when these come together, it will enhance the user experience of Web3 to a different level, right? And also, I'm also looking at it from this aspect that AI needs very accurate data to be trained on. Because if you have some flawed data, it is going to have that garbage in, garbage out problem, right? So think about having blockchain as your backend, because it has got the consensus protocol, right? Because there is majority of the computers, as I mentioned earlier, have to say, yes, this is a correct data. Right now, this correct data is fed into AI. You're going to reduce that garbage in, garbage out problem to a very uh, to a major extent, right? And also, we have got that thing about this concentration of power over AI, because there's this many companies, right? Huge companies which has got a lot of data. So when we have blockchain as a backend, it will also help in combating this concentration power, right? So this is what I was thinking. So I mean, as the slide says, a blockchain could be like a bouncer or a guard for Gen AI. So now let's get into the crux where we say, what is the ABC of future? So for me, it is when AI and blockchain converge together, because they are complementary technologies, right? That each will offer a solution to the problem that the other possesses, right? Because AI needs high quality data for it to work correctly, and blockchain can help with that. And similarly, there are certain problem areas that blockchain has which AI can aid in. Right. So now the list I have here, it's not an exhaustive list. There is a huge amount of problems both the technologies possess. But this is just an example for the 30 minutes I've got. I've tried to put the most important one that I think will help us proceeding further and what testing strategies we can put in place. Right. So let's go to explainable AI. So this is where we want a part in AI that focuses in making the AI models understandable by humans. That is in the same example that I said, right? So, like my mother in law was asking ChatGPT, if my son goes in and asks ChatGPT, can you tell me a joke? Right? It is going to tell a joke, and my son wouldn't be bothered where it is getting its data from. But wherein, if my mother in law is asking, like, how can I control my sugar, and it is giving different options, we are going to be skeptical about where it is getting these, predictions. Where is the decision coming from? I want to know more about it. Right? That is the explainability part of AI. So if adding blockchain to it, you will know, you will have a transparent and traceability of the data that is coming through. Right? It will no more be a black box for us. Even if it's complex, we'll be able to understand where the data is coming from. Right? And so we'll start the trusting around the AI recommendations will be better. Now let us see about the different testing strategies we can have in place. So there are explainability techniques, right? Like lime, sharp. So we can test the effectiveness of these techniques that are in place. Like how, where are these explanations generated? How clear are they? Are they understandable for humans? And how accurate are these decisions, right? And then we've got the counterfactual testing, which is we create a hypothetical scenario and then we modify the data and then see how AI is returning us the output of it. Human in loop, yes, we have human experts who are validating the output of the results AI is predicting us or explaining to us. It will also help in understanding bias if of the output. And my favorite one here is I'm more user centric, right? So for me, it's like target audience. Say, for instance, can the AI model understand uh, the who the target audience is? If it is an expert audience, can it provide a in-depth, detailed information as a decision that comes out of AI model? Or if it is a simple end user, then can it give very simple visualizations or simple answers? So based on the target audience, can it modify and give different decisions from the model itself? Right. So these are different strategies we can put in place when we have AI and blockchain combined together to enhance the problem of explainability. Right. So next is we're going to look at regulatory. Again, regulatory is aspect where both are evolving, AI and blockchain, and we are going to see how we can comply with the regulatories that are in place. And obviously, regulatory is also evolving with these technologies. So it can help with grounding the data or even collecting the data, analyzing it, and also producing reports to comply with different regulatory requirements that come in place, right? So the strategies that we can put in place, I'll quickly go through them, will be we can simulate compliance scenarios to test if our application actually aligns with it, right? And also penetration testing is very key here or very crucial here because of the vulnerability aspect, which is aligned with again the regulatory aspects or the compliances that we have in place. One key aspect here is the data lineage, right? So where the data is originated, how the history of the data, and also how where it is now, right? So the whole the journey of the data that the application manages is also aligned for our traceability and auditability purposes as well, right? And then now let's move on to scalability. Right. So this is a problem blockchain has today. So on an average, Bitcoin can process about 7 to 10 transactions per second. Yes, that is a fact. And Ethereum can process 10 to 15 on an average per second transactions. Wherein our Visa is there, right, on the on Web 2, which is not Web 3. It can do like 1700 transactions per second. So there is something called blockchain trilemma. That is, you've got security as a main feature and you've got decentralization as a main feature. So without compromising these two features, how can we increase scalability? AI can come in place here, right? It can come like amazingly handy here, because it can come in, it can predict the network loads, it can help in optimizing the performance of the network, and thus help in scalability aspect for blockchain. Now, when we talk about scalability, definitely stress testing is the testing strategy we will put in place to ensure the components, both AI and blockchain, can handle high volumes of data or transactions rather. And every blockchain networks comes with their own testing frameworks, or we can use Locust or JMeter to simulate like large scale deployments, and thus checking if the overall evaluating overall scalability. And security testing again for vulnerabilities. Right? So our last topic of the problem areas is going to be data integrity, right? Because we need to ensure that the underlying data is secure. This is mainly because the maximum amount of data that we can put into blockchain is via smart contract. So while creating your smart contract, there could be inconsistencies, or there could be basic human error while entering data. So AI can aid in coming in to validate the data before it is added to blockchain. So that way we know that the data in the blockchain is secured and it is validated, right? And so for me, on a testing strategy front, we ensure that we can track the data and focus on the data through the pipeline, from how the data is acquired, where it is acquired, how it is processed, and how it is also stored, right? Every single thing focusing on the data is critical here. Obviously, we're talking about the data integrity aspect here. And also, one of my favorite one of the strategies that I have mentioned here is the edge case scenarios. That is where what we will do is we'll create a hypothetical scenario. More than a hypothetical scenario, I'll say that we specially craft input design to mislead the AI, the adversarial example testing, right? So we to mislead it, and then we'll see how AI model is reciprocating to it to identify the weaknesses in the model. This can also help in ensuring that the model can expect or handle unexpected data, right? And without producing the biasing factor into it, right? So for me, these are all problematic areas where, when the technologies are independent of each other, do have, and when they come together, the areas they I mean these problems can be resolved, but they will be functioning at as if they're on steroids. Obviously, these are strategies that we have got in place as well to test them when they come together. On a very quick note, future outlook for me, when these two technologies come together, collide and reinforce, it's going to have a wide scale adoption across many industries, let it be finance, healthcare, supply chain, whatever industry we are talking about, right? And some of the few key factors of future outlooks would be the knowledge graphs, intellectual property guardrails, because AI is learning from all of us, right? From me, my company, my competitor's company. So how do I put a guardrail for the data that I don't want to be misused by someone else, right? So blockchain can come in handy there. Asset tokenization, everything can be tokenized today, from like art to property to music, everything can be. So AI can come in handy there to tell us what is the value of a particular token at a given point of time, right? And obviously, we've got market predictions, which will help the investors investing depending on what AI is predicting. By the way, please don't go with this. It is just a theoretical example or an explanation of the art of possibilities I'm talking here, right? But in the last 20-25 minutes, we have seen how the future would look like, right? From AI, from blockchain, when they come together, how it is going to be adopted. But what we need to consider here is, because of the wide scale adoption, especially of how AI is being used, we need to think about the ethical considerations here. We're talking about biases. We're talking about job displacements for people, right? We have to think about the social aspects of things. We have to think about, the economical implications when we are adopting AI to this extent, how it's going to impact our society itself. Think about the autonomous weapons, right? Who's responsible when these weapons are making decisions? From, is it, forget about the weapons, any AI's decision, right? Who's going to be responsible? Is it going to be the developer who's developing it? Is it going to be the company who's deploying it? Or is it going to be like people like me, like us, who are interacting with it, right? So where is the accountability and liability factor? And we also need to think about having a judiciary around it, legal framework around it, to address any biases, discriminations, the harms that can come associated with the technologies advancing so fast. So, on that note, the key takeaways for me today would be the changes has come so fast like never before. And what has got us here will not take us any further, right? How are you preparing yourself for the future? And on that thought, thank you everyone from me.
Got it. Thank you so much, Gomati, for this talk. And I think you structured this really well into and the kind of story you weaved. I think it would have resonated a lot with people here. I think people would like to agree with me if they felt so. In interest of time, what I will do is I'll take two questions, okay, and we'll spend
Yeah.
next 5 10 minutes in questioning. Okay, so this is a fundamental question. Which I'll take. Okay, this is from Chinmay. Says, what is the importance of blockchain testing, and why is it used, and can this be automated? This is a lot of the possibility of automating blockchain testing is a lot of common questions. So that's why I took this
Yes.
question. Yeah.
So, yes, it is. Again, see, not anything and everything can be automated. Even in a Web2 world, you don't automate everything, right? There's something called cost of automation. So again, in blockchain, there is blockchain testing. I think if you okay, so I think in the test flicks I had spoken about automation. What is blockchain testing, and I also mentioned about automating it, right? So blockchain testing is there. That is what we do as an organization. It revolves mainly around smart contract, but not just smart contract, because it has got decentralized apps, right? Just like you have in Web2, we also have decentralized apps, but they interact with blockchain. So you have an end-to-end flow there, from blockchain to smart contract testing. You have the functional, you have the security aspect, and we do a lot of load testing, the performance side of it, because as I spoke about the scalability aspect, there is a big gap there. But where before, I wouldn't call it a gap, because it is an evolving technology. We are still learning it, we are seeing growing with it. So there is going to be a lot of growth in that area. And with what it is, blockchain, yes, blockchain testing is there, and yes, it can be automated. We genuinely use like Selenium, Java, for our automation. So hope that
Got
answers.
it. Got it. Got it. Okay. And this is the next question which I'll take. I'll generalize it after reading this. Okay. This is a question from Dayanand. He has given a lot of specific context, but I'll generalize this. Our dev team is working on blockchain implementation for security. Let's say stop piracy for the content for ownership of the owners. Okay, but it's clueless now on how to and what to test on that. So let's let's zoom out a little on this. Okay, there'll be a lot of testers who enter into blockchain related projects.
Hmm.
He's entering into something which is related to stopping piracy for owners. So how do testers at a larger level start when they enter into a project new? Uh, how to s- how to start making sense of what is happening around them in terms of blockchain, and how do they start with the testing process of all this? So let's zoom out just a bit, not
Hmm.
specific in this context, and then attempt to
But
answer.
in general, right, if I've got your question right, so there are testers who are entering into the blockchain space. And how do we start? How do we make a start in
Yeah,
that
because
space?
yeah, and start in the sense that they will not have the domain knowledge of blockchain. Let's say
Correct.
they'll not have the context of the project as much as the others would have,
Correct.
and then they would not have the context of how does blockchain testing typically happen in their project. So there are three parts to this typically.
Okay. So let me start with my example, because as much as I had theoretical knowledge of blockchain and everything, I was not a blockchain expert. And even today, I wouldn't call myself a blockchain expert. I'm still learning it. And for me, if I have to answer your question, I'll start with saying that you don't need to have a domain knowledge, but understand the context of what you're testing. This is across anything. You can be put into an AI testing project tomorrow, anything be it. You need to understand, have a holistic picture, right? Understand what processes are there in place today. First one. If there aren't any, start creating a process, right? Then in the meantime, learn what blockchain is, what exists today, how can you test, what is a blockchain network, right? And find which are the areas where you could have testing implemented, right? From a design phase, if design is getting created, be part of it, understand how it is designed, how your application is connected with blockchain, where it is interacting. Is that the smart contract functions that is talking to blockchain? Are we retrieving the information from blockchain, right? So these are areas that you need to have a basic understanding of how your application overall connects with blockchain. Does it read? Does it write? Does it get information from there? So, and based on that, plan your test strategy, right? And then as you go through these, this is just the functional aspect of it. As you go through, obviously, you've got the security aspect of it, right? And then the performance aspect of it. So, your test strategy will grow as you do it, and the more you learn about it, you can start automating it. You will know which are the functions, or which are the tests that are repeated, which the results would be the same every time you give an input value. So then you have to automate it. Don't start jumping into like, okay, I want to start testing, but I don't know what I have to do. You have to learn, have a holistic idea, then start slowly implementing it. And your organization, or at least your lead, would know that you are not a blockchain expert. When they have hired you, they know you're not in blockchain. Nobody is going to expect you to come in and set up your blockchain testing strategy on day one. So yeah, it you one thing I would say is, the imposter syndrome. Everybody has it, right? You want to know as much as everybody in the room knows. So don't have it. Accept what it is. Be yourself, and I'm sure one day you will get through that journey. It took me 18 months to set up my automation framework, and we are only like 40% automated of what our system today is, right? And accepting reality is the best thing.
No, that's a very solid point, that we have to stop over expecting from ourselves and start setting the right expectations to our folks in general. Thank you so much, Gomati, for doing this. Okay, this is a topic which is very less talked about, and like we discussed backstage, but we thought that it's very important to talk about topics like this, which have lesser knowledge in general in the space. But I hope a lot of us here might have got some idea about what blockchain is, what blockchain testing is, and if you like this field, I'm sure there are a lot of resources available, and you can pick them up. Thank you everyone for tuning in for this one. So once again, thank you, Gomati. Thank you so much for doing this, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ashutosh.